Hi guys, today I'll be walking you through drawing a rose in full bloom and a rose just budding. What you're going to need for this demonstration is paper. Any kind of paper will do, computer paper, scratch paper, because we're just practicing today. You're also going to want to need a sharp pencil and a sharpener if you have it. You can use a mechanical pencil. However, you're not going to be able to do an even shading if you want to continue with the shading portion of this. I also, for shading, have some tissues available so I don't get my fingers all messed up. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to start by focusing on the round top portion of this just budding, just blooming rose. So I'm going to draw a very light oval. I'm making it a little bit bigger than my other one so you can all see. So I don't want this portion to be too dark because I don't want this oval to be shown. This is just kind of like the support so we know where things are going to be placed. The next step, I'm going to actually go curve. I'm going to curve this down almost like an upside down bell. So it should look a lot like an upside down bell when you're done with this. Any extra lines that you don't want, go ahead and erase those. So now I have the basic shape of this flower, this rose. I'm going to start all the way in the middle, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to have this really small, very tiny curl that's going to be the center. That's going to give me a center point. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start just kind of forming the inside. And I'm going to go ahead and do the last bit of this kind of like, because again, I just want to have something to go off of. I don't want to keep these lines per se. But what we're going to do is we're going to start layering these petals in a shape that looks like a rose. So I start with the curl and I kind of bring the edges down lightly. And then I go ahead and I start kind of unfolding them. So I got this little line and I'm kind of going not all the way down, but close enough. And then on the side, I'm just going to kind of take the first petal, kind of just roughly draw a petal just kind of leaning onto this line that we created, and then we have the start for the next petal. So I kind of overlap, and then I go in and I kind of find where the other petal's folding, and these are just really loose, almost triangles, rounded triangles, and you kind of just keep pulling and folding, and as it goes around, you're creating the shape of the rose. So you kind of keep following the curve into this bell shape. You're just layering petals. So I'm just kind of, it's actually easier if you hold the pencil loosely and you go light. If you like it, you keep it, you make it darker. If you hate it, you can erase it. If you go through a line that you didn't want to, clean it up. We just keep going around. And I kind of started to give them a little bit of a point. And here is a part from the shape. You kind of want to choose how far you want it to open. But I'm just kind of layering these rounded, stretched out petals to where it's starting to open. And you know what, I think instead of having it all the way out, I'm going to stop it right there. I'm going to kind of clean this line up, and I'm going to clean can actually, let's see. Now I think I can go a little bit further and just kind of pull it. And now we're going to the part where it's folding on the outside. So we're taking this line and we're going to curve it down. And we're going to go all the way to the base. And this can go, you can have another one of those kind of pointed leaves, and that's kind of the first fold that you see in that flower on the outside. So this bell shape, again, you can clean it up however you want. You can actually make it, if you wanted another petal, I'm kind of veering off from my original a little bit, but you can actually make the petals look like they're opening a little bit more. Totally up to you. Just kind of smooth it out. So all the lines you're not sure about, I would recommend going light. All the ones that you're more confident about, you can go darker. You can always trace it darker. And I'm seeing some petals that I want to adjust a little bit. And we're just smoothing it over. So the next step is actually coming back to the center. And what you want to do, and I hope you can see this, is that center, you're going to want to start the curl, you're going to kind of put a line straight down because it's folding in on itself, and you want to close those off. You want to make sure that those are closed off, and you're just making, until you get to this first real petal right here, you want to make sure that all those other petals are closing off into the flower, because in real life it's overlapping into itself. So I'm actually going to erase a little bit because I also have to get the base of my stem in here. And the base of the stem is just these really sharp, very fine points. So you just kind of want to hug that curve. You're going to kind of give a base of that stem, and then you can swoop all the way down, all the way down. And then you can put the leaves, and I recommend when we do leaves, it's just like doing trees. They kind of pop up in a Y shape, so you're going to follow this line that we created, and then you're going to veer off, and then we're going to start the shape of the leaf. So we have the stem and the inside of the leaf right now, and then we kind of poke some points because rose leaves tend to be pretty sharp pointed, and there are some thorns on roses. If you want to include them, you can. If you don't, you don't have to. If you want it to be realistic, by all means go for it. If not, and then we go in the inside of the leaf, and we just kind of veer off into these Ys. Okay, and that is the basis, and I'm going to put another petal right here. So you can make as many petals as you'd like. Again, this is for like a just blooming rose. We're going to continue with our full bloomed rose, which has a slightly different shape in the next portion. Okay, so we're continuing our roses. This one is a rose in full bloom, so the petals are out. They are in more of a circular pattern. So we are actually, instead of a bell shape this time, we're going to go into a circular pattern. And I'm going to draw my supporting shape, which is a circle, a loose circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I am going to, again, we're going to start in the middle like we did last time with that curl for the center of the rose, because regardless of what time it's quote unquote blooming, that center is what sells it as a rose. So kind of starting with this shape first, so I'm actually going to kind of give it a little bit of a roundness so I have a basis to overlap. And the thing that's different with this rose with the other roses that you get to go in all directions unfolding those petals, and those petals are going to be looser, they're going to be fuller. So you're going to kind of use some soft curves and points, and you're going to allow that rose to really stretch out. So, and again, if you are nervous about making just these very fluid, curved points, slightly pointed shapes, the farther away you're holding your pencil, the looser it tends to be, so you don't have to have that much control if you do not want to. If you use your pencil really tight, you're going to want to like really focus on the details. Is really good for when you're holding the pencil this way. If you want loose gestural folds, then you are definitely going to want to hold your pencil a little bit further out. And again, they should not be uniform. If they're uniform, then it doesn't look realistic. You kind of want to rough up some edges a little bit, and you just want to keep going out until you are either getting close to your supporting shape, or you're starting to overlap it. So it is completely up to you. I am thinking I want to go a little bit further. You just keep going, and again, all the lines you do not want, you get rid of. That's why we work in pencil. If you work in pen, you're kind of stuck. I mean, there's definitely ways around it, but you definitely want to do it the easy way the first time around, and pencil's the way to go. And you can do the same thing if you want to do a mechanical pencil. Sure, that works. It's just you're going to have a very uniform line, which is fine with the line drawings that we're doing right now. But if you want to go into shading, regular pencil all the way, because you can lightly smooth on the side of your pencil versus just the point, and all you have with a mechanical pencil is a point. So I'm just erasing the lines I don't want, cleaning up the lines I do want, and you're just kind of going around in this pattern until you are satisfied with how big you want your rose. And then we're going to actually go back, and just like the bell shape in the first rose, we're actually coming back in, we're curling this down because this is going to have its own petal. You can actually fold this in as many times as you care to, and then you're bringing the lines down so it's wrapping into itself. I might actually put a little bit more smaller petals around here just to give it some more dramatic unfolding. And there is our full bloom rose. Come back down. Because it's in full bloom, we do not see the base like we did with the other rose where it had the bell shape, so we don't necessarily need to make that knot or the sharp edges of the base of the rose because you're not seeing it. So this, you can just put your leaves on there. So we follow the line, we branch out. You can make the shape of the leaf and then add some points to it if you like. If you want your rose to have the thorns, by all means. Thorns are for wild roses mostly. Generally when you get them at the store, they shave them off, but when you do that, you just again follow the line, create a point, come back to the line. there we have a rose, and I'm going to erase my marks. Okay, the last thing I'd like to show you is shading, and again we're going to use our pencil for this technique, just a regular pencil. You want to kind of, the rule of thumb when you're working with shading is you want soft strokes to where you can blend it in either with your pencil if you are versed in it, or if you want to do it where it's a little bit easier. I like to roll up a piece of tissue, kind of roll it up into a point, and then you have this point that you can kind of smooth out your graphite. The rule of thumb with roses is anywhere where the leaf or the petal is overlapping, you definitely can create a shadow. So I'm going to lightly create this little shadow, and I'm going to kind of pull it out with the tissue and smooth it out. Now, I kind of rubbed the graphite of the petal in front of it, so you kind of lost it, so you just go back and you retrace the lines you want. So when you are shading, you just want to go where the light is not hitting it or barely hitting it. So outside the petal, you want to keep light. Inside of the petal, you want to get a nice shaded area shadow. So, and you keep doing that until it is done all over. So again, you do not want to shade where the tip is of the petals. You just want to go where the crevices are. So you're going to lightly shade. Get your tissue. You can use your finger too. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just your finger's just going to have graphite all over it. I generally do not mind it. But I do know some people that do, and I'm just showing you just a simple tissue, paper towel can definitely help smooth out your graphite. And again, if you just want to retrace the petal that you didn't intend for it to get too light. The other thing, if you notice that your petal is too dark or you get too far on the edge of the petal, you can just bring your eraser back and you can kind of clean it up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial. I hope to do more with you guys, and I hope you continue to create. If you have any questions, I will make sure I'll be available at some point in the near future if you have any questions regarding this particular tutorial. Thank you so much for listening.